Everybody huddle up together as close to the head of your speech. Become really good friends. And you're taking pictures. I gotta
I think that's something that's
as far as I know, they did actually
And we should go back there tomorrow and replay that.
we get numbers. Friends.
Yelling and stuff like that, but it's just like,
that opens things up for possibly third qualifying spot. Yeah, so you're thinking
That makes everything more interesting.
I would like to
This was a harrowing experience. It's all just like playing stuff. And everything.
and like the cherry bomb is
they're in full strength.
Not just because he was like, oh yeah, he said it I also went around telling us
No, I watched it.
Okay. Okay, so that's fine. I don't know how many nobody's played it back.
So, I stopped it from I don't think that was
Where can people find it?
Why would you pick tower control? Moron! Best mode! You go up on that.
Yeah, if it's 10, okay, so
yeah, we got drinks afterwards. We're like, it's time to go. We're ready to go. We keep getting our sets, getting close to those bronze brackets, and then like winning close to those bronze brackets. It's like we are not doing the animation of throwing the bronze brackets. We'll get there. We're gonna win from the ever this month. It had a great time. Yeah, they were sure did
it never does. They play nobody has any suspicions about that. Nobody was great. Whoa, what happened?
I don't know, sure we're, I'm not sure we're I'm glad to go to Riptide, so, I mostly, I think,
Yeah, I know.
I'm hoping to get his yeah, so I did a few hours ago, did actually get apologize for and how they are aware of the problem. We are going to schedule a hopefully there will be
it's all in the room now.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
This could be the same. Give me so the play this Glamwood. Those are the Smash players. Then we go we started doing it. Did not have a somehow any of what Joseph to play if we don't lose that big two games and let the other so hard side of this one only playing out.
at least like
I know that we kind of just, I think we got like 10 or something, and we just
But
kind
they
of
have to outshine it. I still don't like how they don't get that. Regardless of those players. It's just yet again.
so there's all that
This year,
man hour. Just
that's an interesting. I got a very memorable game. He's got a stereotype.
he does this
Once you take it up, there's no like that. I think they'll be
we did
just one team. You got one. Talk about these guys. He did Dave to pick. He did. What a game. And then they made it. That you have Project Blank is the first team in best of 5 history. I mean, they're
Usually
playing their opponent.
somewhat
There's no other way to say it.
Uploading drops is great.
Usually it's just called if you're in a
Because that's a lot easier to do.
Goes out to AKB.
And that's always good.
not including
It does most nice stuff.
They played switching. Coming in person. I believe all three of them play. No,
so then we looked at hiring orders but the kind of last minute and then like the day after they were down to person B
show us Yanks how to play competitive. There we go.
and then so it became I would have one person with me who's not having then oh good there's a person with me and then so
If they have to like
in a weird way
they might.
that was actually helpful probably to not have to pay another person but it definitely made things and Devin from level 1 was hoping to be more dedicated to the setup, but he also did all the programming
he's doing good.
used for the entire
I used to say if you like people to the actual really. I will say this. You want to reach out.
so a lot of it was
Do it this
running
way.
the team by myself.
Okay. I said espresso coffee. After this week. No. This team reach out to me. Probably not going to.
But it's tough. Just find someone else who lasts double the rate. So they say, hey, someone's not eating this so all that stuff, all that.
Yeah, I got you second place in SEC.
Let's go. This team is going. Let's go. Hey, I'm retired. Hey, that's not coming on.
Everything else, I don't want to
Congratulations. Espresso
on top.
Stay out of moderation. Wordplay. That's
Have to really be careful because almost guaranteed you're already spending money. $5,000, $20,000.
Cherry lime.
Yeah, and then I have my poster right here.
As soon as there's a new game, a new stream,
Did I sign for
kind of needs to
Okay.
it's really hard minimum requirements for us to sit and if it doesn't meet that,
Maybe the only seed ever win.
Probably next LTC.
this year is next one.
Lily did not.
And so I think that's sort of the niche that LTC is providing.
All right, get out of here.
and that's why they're tuned.
Clear-cut favorite.
Don't know how it happened. Clearly,
Did you see my fish on Twitter?
Signed up for it.
That was like you're saying, it's Pepper City. I want to say, I'm a big Heist fan. We've been joking about Hayek.
I'm not hinting at it.
Honestly, that was the thing we're actually.
I mean, I would be shocked to hear that.
Maybe we'll do some more Hayek stuff. The fact that the overall cheated. So like they cheated. There's proof right there. I'm gonna read you that.
Yeah, that's still
What's the return pace? I'm not saying like
because people like the game.
and this is where I was
Because people like the game. I think it is also still there. They're like so in the red.
Hey, you're the person who always is like a business model in our household. Like you're always, whenever you're like the booking or genocide. They knew me through their podcast, but their first time ever meeting me was when I was walking outside the venue, like looking around, and they said, "Hi, Genocide." And I just said, "Hi, have you guys seen my wife? I can't find my wife." And then I just ran off. And I'm assuming that was probably a really weird and awkward situation. But like I didn't know where my wife was. There were so many people. If anyone had that awkward moment in interaction with me, I'm glad you guys get to see me for the actual jackass that I am, instead of whatever you perceive me to be here. You like to be a part of the podcast?
Dedicated job. I got really lucky.
I'm gonna do.
I played not the same we get a copy of my wife has this Disney code. Undershirt man, thanks for the raid. It came in the one time where I literally talked about you a little bit earlier. I think every single team.
And so I really lucky. Both of those things are dead now. And it's much trickier to launch.
Stay safe. If you haven't been vaccinated, smash go do it. And don't forget to get tested. You don't wait for somebody to announce that it's already got to go. I guarantee you've been around somebody who's taking a 6 steps back. Get tested. Stay safe. It's been an hour and a half. See you Thursday at the Let's wrap this up. You like to a lot of it. Feel free to reach out my social
Don't worry about it.
I'm pretty sure I was. Okay, so if I bring Rush on and he says he kind of oh, you put me in. It was definitely. I mean, I've always tried to like explain good. Yeah, what I've seen. Look, stay safe this weekend. Look at good. Safe travels to everybody. Go to the World Tire. Make sure you guys check it out. Watch the event. You're not. I take this is not my first. This is first time. Go Destiny. How'd you do? This is
almost like
have a moment.
I got 2 more points that aren't.
What do you think of me running upstairs to get some water?
Go. You can do that. At one point, you almost unplug raises.
They really do want to associate, especially the people
enjoy the rest of your night. And I'll talk to you soon for the programming note. We're not going to do that. Staying up until 6 a.m. This happened the last time all the German teams ended up black. The things Jim was saying are way more interesting. Let's just let Jim talk and let's just keep this going. There was maybe we'll squeeze this put out Friday's episode where I'm talking to
Oh, yeah.
one of them was bragging about me before they talk about it. And we're like, okay, here's Jim's 10 points. And the Glacier was like, no, they might be the biggest asset of the DSB deal with Cressota diversity to be like Starburst at the PAX event. I don't know. They got saved. We'll talk about those things. They got saved at some point.
And then we also had the inverse where we almost put a team in before and ended up going way lower.
Also, there's been some highlights. Really good take. One team had a really rough Saturday. There was a team that started today's episode of the podcast fell all the way to it's very hard for just they had a really bad day. They had no idea some salaries.
I mean, yeah, but also like it's good that they don't get stomped.
Oh yeah, Top Gun, Blue Sky. Oh yeah, they would have been player base is much Discord. Improve things. Yeah, and also like banned from blowing go right ahead. Well, yeah, some of the things. All right, Z, you've earned some play, but until then, you enjoy. Get vaccinated, play safe, wear a mask when applicable.
You're absolutely right.
Go out and
To be
vote.
fair,
Early voting is going on in a
the
lot of places.
championships
Early
I got
voting is
to
going on right now in Indiana.
take a plane trip
Average
to
wait time is like
Switzerland,
2.5 hours.
France, and
There's a few more things.
spend nights in a hotel there with
Yeah.
these other two people.
My wife is watching that downstairs.
All that sort of stuff. I mean, if you
It
told
sounds
me
like you're at a
to
party.
take that trip for 500
He's
euros,
mine now.
What's being served at the party?
definitely wouldn't do that.
You'll have to wrestle me away from
Experience is going
JPEG
to
first.
be
Shouldn't Wednesdays be quieter than that? You're the loudest trash talking so far. Background noise. Keo tells Basil to use E-Leader. Oh, yeah, your Twitter has a meltdown.
if you're really
Tell
a
people you're at a
competitive
very
player,
cool party, not a library.
nature
Trash
is
talking
especially
or
in
trash talking on the Smash
cares
side.
about the money, so it's
Is
definitely
that
something
like
that
common?
prefer to give people
Is
that
there ever been a
support.
point to where you saw a TO
Yeah,
step
it
in
is
between
weird.
somebody like no, don't
It's
do
setting
don't
a
sit
barrier
down, sit down and play
between
kind of thing. Like what? Like how? Like I think it's a new thing for us.
There was a div
To see somebody
just
stand. That's all you came on to say.
somebody
Your div
plays
7
into
did a
professional
land
job,
setting. What are your
on
thoughts on
YouTube
that?
and getting a lot of subscribers and a lot of
So,
push money
first of
and
all,
that
real
sort of
quick,
thing.
it was a new thing for me too, because
Playing the game is
I think one of the biggest things about that particular moment with Keo
Do you still play the game?
was that,
Like,
and as a producer too, right? So I
think
not only am I watching
my
the stream, but
subscription
I'm
rate
like
went down.
analyzing each camera shot to be like, okay, this is a good shot to go to right now.
And
a lot of
like,
div
Oh look, so and so is like
I
showing their
know
YouTube
it's
plushie and it's cute. I'm gonna cut to that.
Shush was supposed to play
Or so and so is doing a little
playing
heart
on
hand
Friday,
thing,
like,
or
and
like they're hugging, like the whole weekend. Positive, cuddly, loving, cozy, loving, hugs, kisses, everything's there. And then grand finals, I couldn't hear what. Keo just stands up and screaming with this brutal face. And I was like, oh my god, what's happening?
You're gonna need a lot of patches.
It'd be like if you're playing Animal Crossing and then like Predator comes out and shoots you. It was such a stark difference. And I didn't know what was said either. I couldn't really tell what words were used. It happened a little too fast. Had a headset on and everything. And
but
so
you wanted to make sure the camera was on
It's
as
for the
these
better
things
because
were happening.
we're both at gods.
yeah, so I did decide to cut
See,
to it. 'Cause
Balloon,
it's like
half is just looking out
this
for
is
you.
the
That's what it
story now. I don't know what's happening exactly, but this is the story, and I was also cognizant of I don't know what's about to happen. If it starts to get worse, I'm like cutting to the commentators or something. Like I don't think it's gonna go there necessarily, but like I'm ready to evacuate if I need to. I'm keeping an eye on it. And then I you know, as that evolved a little bit more, I saw okay, it actually is just playful. It's just intense. It's playful, but it's very intense, and that's the first like intense thing I've seen. Not only all weekend, but maybe like with Splatoon period personally. So that was very new for me. It was very weird to me, weird in the sense of just unusual, bizarre, unexpected. But I didn't have a problem with it. I was just like, that's strange. I will say I don't know if it's true. I don't know where I read it, saw it. Like Keo didn't like Basil and Keo weren't like friends previously. So that to me, in my personal sense of like what is normal, I find that a little bit odd because I can't imagine screaming at someone I don't know unless it was for a bit or I'm actually angry. But
Hey,
everyone's
any-
different, and to
any
the core of
thoughts
your
going
question
to
here,
Breeze or any
that is
land in
very
the future?
common in the FGC. At least.
Love to.
Smash is sort of
day
this
Breeze,
extension.
have
It's like a
presentation on
close
analysis
cousin
features, so I
kind of
can't
the
make it that
FGC.
day.
So you certainly see it in
But
Smash.
I'd definitely like to go
But
to
in
some
like
lands in the future.
Street
I've
Fighter,
participated in the UK Championships as well.
or
As
what fighting game of your choice.
UK on a UK team, because
that stuff happens.
One non-UK member on
I'd
your
say
team at that point.
kind
So
of
that was
commonly,
really fun.
even.
I bumped the Dapples lands. I really
and
liked them.
it's not necessarily BM. It's not necessarily frowned upon.
Like
even it's actually
future,
considered like more exciting.
Because
A lot
I
of
do have
people
a
view
life,
that as like
unfortunately.
this is just a good story now.
Don't we all, or at least we like
It excites
Hey,
things.
thank you again
and
for coming
I
on,
think
and
I'm not in the
good
mind of the
luck
player who
throughout
does
the
that.
next,
I'm much
month and
more
a half or
quiet
so
and
as
reserved
the season
generally.
comes to an end. Thank you again.
But I think for the person who does that, that's them expressing excitement.
Yeah,
That's
it'll be-
them
We'll
creating their
get
own
there
story,
eventually.
basically, and
That
making things
was
more
Immel
flamboyant,
checking in
essentially.
from the
So it's not
Netherlands.
necessarily out of ill
Yeah,
will, but it can be very
local time.
confusing
I
if you
did
don't
offer Immel
know that
a earlier
headspace. You
time. I
don't
was
know
like,
what's
"Look,
going
I'm
on.
taking a half
And
day
there's
at
certainly
work. I can
times
come
too in the
Immel
FGC
was
where
"No,
like
let's just do it
it
the
was
next
real
month." So
salt. Things
there
may
we
have
go.
escalated
second,
more than
EU person I've
people would have
convinced to
liked. I
stay
don't
up
know if
deep
anyone
into the
threw
mo-
hands
deep
necessarily,
into a
but it was
Tuesday morning to come
like
onto the show. But I'm happy.
not
I love
well
having
received.
Immel on.
But I'd say most of the
We're
time in the
always
FGC it
smarter
is well
after
received.
hearing
In
things that
Smash,
Immel has to say.
it's
So,
less common, but again,
always
I'd say
enjoy
it's
whenever we have him on
relatively
and
well
talk about
received.
things like that.
So I think
There
has
you
this
go.
ever happened in Splatoon?
200
Anything
episodes
even
of,
similar?
We'll go
it's
with 201
I-
on Friday.
Falco
when
and I
we
were
preview Lower.
commentating
Until
Top
then,
Cut
if you'd like to
at
be a
Big
part of the
House
Popcast
last
anyway,
year,
feel free to reach out on my
and
socials below.
Keo
Twitter,
and the
Mr.
team
_
Keo was playing
Mr.
against
_
were
Popgun,
both chirping
Twitch
at each other,
Popgun25,
but would
YouTube at
always hug
Popgun25,
each other afterwards.
Popgun.
They knew
Okay.
each other.
Blue
But
Sky
at the
Yeah.
time, me and
normal
Falco were
Popgun.
commentating that it's happening
Let's
right next to
go
us. We're
see
like,
what
oh
Jackpot
shit,
is up to.
is what's going on here? Is this okay? But I mean, it's just certain
Between now and Friday,
individuals
make
who are a
sure
little bit
you wear
more
masks, get vaccinated,
use that
stay
kind of
safe, don't do
energy.
anything dumb.
And quite honestly,
And,
if there are more
play your losing
teams,
sets, get those
there's a
things in
lot
on
more chirping. That it's not always standing up and saying something to the
Chirping.
opponent's face. But I don't know if you've listened to the off stream. You probably didn't get a chance to listen to the off stream sets that were going on. They're
I haven't.
always saying something to the other team, like subconsciously, like, oh, these guys are trash. Oh, we're so much better than these guys. Let's go. I'm better is the one thing they're always screaming. And it's there's been little nudges here and there that rub people the wrong. And it's more intense offset stream because your opponent's not across from you. You make eye contact with them just by
Yeah.
looking up. So it's more personal. But it's never been. There's been people who've been frustrated and not happy with that kind of thing, but it's I don't know. It just took on this different kind of conversation because we saw it, and
Yeah.
when you put a camera to it, and you like you said, that's the story, and how people perceive the story, it kind of gets stretched out of proportion into this larger debate, which is why I was like, isn't this common? Like, isn't this something you typically see in Melee? But I guess just because it's acceptable in one gaming community in one form or another might not mean that it's easily translatable into another one. Like, not all esports are the same kind of thing.
Yeah, I agree. I think again, I think the main thing that stood out about it and had it become such a talking point in the community was the difference, was the differential.
Right.
I like if that was Street Fighter, people would have just like laughed and then that would be it. Not at anyone, and just been like, yep, there's video games happening. Let's
Yeah.
go. Like it's been like, cool, sure. But with Splatoon, that is so different than the norm, or at least what's perceived as the norm. Like you said, people are maybe doing it like more quietly, or just to their friend or just to their team, but loudly projecting trash talk, standing up, making the whole venue go quiet. that is definitely something that will shake you a bit, especially if you're not used to that. Makes sense to me. I don't know. I don't know if I can uh have a take on how that should go in the Splatoon community, but I think Keo just needs to be cognizant of that, and if Keo wants to keep doing it, then cool. Or anyone who wants to do it, and the rest of the community needs to know that, like, even if you don't love it, it's not actual like anger being projected. It's just something you don't quite understand.
The thing I said was everybody's responsible for their own actions. So if you, however you project yourself, and however the person responds, like each party is responsible for how they respond in that kind of situation. So have you ever
Right.
seen a TO like step in and be like, hey, no, sit down, ring it back a little bit?
I'm trying to think if I have. I feel like maybe that might happen at like a local. I don't know if that would happen like at a major at a stream setup. Um, I can't think of a TO needing to get involved because of salt, other than maybe at a local setting. But that's my experience. I think
Right.
for Smash, I want to say that each region probably has one or two salt lords that everyone knows that they're a salt lord, and they're gonna throw their controller. They're gonna scream at the end of a set. Um, and that's the way these players can be really good sometimes too. So they might be on stream a lot. Um, but I think, as long as their behavior is kind of reduced and kept to a certain limit, uh, then it sort of is what it is. If it ever gets too far, they ever like yell a slur at someone, they're out. If they ever hit someone, certainly they're out. So I think those angrier players will skirt the line of what they're allowed to do. Maybe, I don't know. Fortunately, I'm not the angry player. I've never thrown a controller. I did drop a controller recently and it's scuffed, and I'm really sad about it. But yeah, so I don't know that headspace very well. But I think if I was at TOing at an event and I saw something escalating, I would not immediately run to go put the fire out. I'd keep an eye on it, maybe talk to people after, like, hey, is everything cool? Is there anything I should know about? So I think in our case with Keo, everything's cool. A little confusing maybe, but we're good.
Welcome to competitive Splatoon. Yeah, look, there was a when I played competitively, I banned my team from streaming our VC because we were jerks to our.
Yep.
I mean, it's online and the opponent can't hear you, and I think some people don't they can't disassociate that. They think they're in their private Discord VC. And like, oh wait, no, everybody can hear this kind of thing. One more thing, and I've kind of thought about this for a long time now. I'm wondering if Melee, like how much longer Melee really has, because if you're a teenager today, you're gonna play the game that's coming out with you. Like you and I are way more excited, I'm assuming, about Thousand Year Door being remade than a teenager today that's like, oh, what? Why are you guys freaking out so much about that game? It's 20 years old. Melee doesn't have like a Spargo, does it? It does. It does. Like, do you feel like there's a lot more people that are getting into Melee, like picking it up for the first time, that didn't grow up with it and can keep that scene going forward? Or do you, like, I'm genuinely curious if it's still going to be a big thing 10 years from now.
I think it will. I think it's an interesting case where most likely the game will never die. And I say never, maybe in 200 years. I don't know. But I think it's going to be one of these. I feel like Nine has knows words. I don't. Nine, you probably have a good word for this. It's something that is going to last a long time compared to other things. And the reason being is that let's take that example you just used of little Billy, who is finding out that there's video game tournaments. You can compete in a tournament for your favorite game. And little Billy goes, "Oh, I have a Switch and I have Super Smash Brothers Ultimate. I bet they have tournaments for that." They do. Nice. Go on ahead and get involved with that. That's awesome. We're all proud of little Billy. But then little Billy goes, "Why is the netcode ass? I can't play with my friend." Wait, this other game has netcode that isn't ass that somebody made and I can play it on my computer? Oh, well, I'll play that game. Let's try that out. And then that goes well. And then they find out, oh, there's locals for this game too. Problem solved. I'll play this game instead. And my hands don't hurt because I'm not old yet. So that's not an issue that I'm going to run into. You'll run into that 10 years from now or 15 years from now, little Billy. So start doing those hand stretches. But at that time, there's no reason not to, unless I think that's the other factor is, are all of your friends playing Ultimate? Are all of your friends playing Splatoon? Are they all playing Melee? You're going to kind of gravitate towards, most likely anyways, towards what's around you and what people around you are doing. I got technically, in a way, I got involved with Melee when it came out. I had any interest in it because my older brother had interest in it, and he was playing Marth, and I had played Smash 64 a little bit, and I was Samus in that game, and I was like, oh, Samus is in this game too, cool. And my brother wanted to try to get good, which I'd never even heard of in a video game before. I was whatever age. I was like, wait, you can be like good at a game, like in a game like this? I thought it was just like, what? I thought video games are like for fun. It didn't compute until Melee. And then I was like, oh man, and like my brother's constantly destroying me all summer, and then I like kind of slowly figured things out a little. But if that had been some other game, I would have been playing that other game. So I think it depends on your individual community, what people you cross paths with, and what their interests are, what you happen to see from some clip comes up on Twitter or TikTok and that looks cool and it happens to be Melee or it happens to be Ultimate. Those little things are going to pull you in different directions. And sometimes, like, I've always played, I think since Smash 4 came out, I've always kept up playing Melee, but I was going to tournaments for Smash 4 and then subsequently Ultimate. But I've never stopped playing Melee. There's something definitely unique about it. And I think unless there's a world where Nintendo really taps into that, which I think they've gotten closer and closer. Technically, like Smash 4 was a step above Brawl in most ways, not all. Ultimate was a step up above Smash 4 in most ways, not all. I'm not trying to have arguments about this. I'm sure most people will agree. There's someone who's going to get upset that I talked about Smash 4 being more competitive than Brawl, but in general, that was the consensus. That's the case. I do miss Dash Attack, canceled up Smash. Everyone calm down. But I think unless they do a real sequel to Melee is going to stick around because it's kind of its own game. It's kind of its own thing that there's a huge overlap with other Smash games, but at the same time, there's nothing else like it currently. So it's always has its niche that's going to be carved out.
Fair enough. We're running up against the. I've never thought I would say a Popcast episode's going long, but here we are.
I was surprised when you thought it was going to be like under an hour. I was like, really, for all this stuff?
Look,
okay.
I didn't know how long-winded you were going to be, or how in-depth you were going to be with these things. But I was liking it, so I was like, let's just keep it going. So there we go. Go ahead and plug yourself. What are you up to now? Riptide's over. Did I see you're playing through the Oracle games now?
Yeah. Yep. So on Tuesday, so I've in the last year I've been really trying to merge my production skills with my own stream, and I have a thing going called Crunkus Crew, which is with my old Melee doubles partner from college, who's also my best friend. Not a coincidence, probably. And so we have a show every Tuesday where it's a literal couch co-op. We're sitting on a couch, playing different games. And so sometimes they'll be actual co-op games. Sometimes it's just like we're kind of passing the controller each time someone dies or something. Because I want to play video games with people in person, and I want to do stuff with a friend, and I think we have good banter and such. So that's something I do every Tuesday. And otherwise, it's just kind of a medley of different games I have interest in. For my stream, it's definitely Smash. Splatoon for a while, and then I kind of trickled out, but Riptide has cranked it back up. And actually, as soon as I'm out of here, I'm going to stream Splatoon for a few hours tonight. And I don't know if you got any Yu-Gi-Oh fans, but Yu-Gi-Oh was the first thing I did competitively. I was actually really sick at it.
Oh my gosh! If at some point when I go back to my parents' house, I had the dual disc. I had the dual disc.
Can I buy it from you? Straight up,
dude. I'll just give it to you. Honestly, I mean,
let me pay you.
What?
Dude,
how? Okay, so how much does that? It's not like it's in great condition. I did the little function nonstop. That's all I did. How much would a thing like that go for?
I think it's I want to say people are so there's two different versions. There's like a curvier one, I don't know, like a sharper looking one, and there's like the OG more like segmented polygonal looking one. I don't remember which one's more, but I think they're like $100 now because there weren't that many made, and Yu-Gi-Oh got kind of bigger than it expected to, so it's like a rare treat. So I've wanted to do I have a Bandit Keith cosplay that I do sometimes. And so I have like the USA bandana, I got the sunglasses, I'll get like the stubble for it and everything.
Yeah.
But I don't have the dual disc.
Okay, so so my thing suddenly becomes way more valuable to you then, if that's
why I was like, I don't feel like I should just receive it for free.
Okay, look,
I shouldn't have told you that.
Next Riptide, or what about Low Tide City? Potential to go to that, or
I'm hoping to be involved with the production for that, but that's so far out that like who the hell knows.
Hey, it's so far out. People already got it in their Twitter bios. Soon to Low Tide City.
Yeah, well, that's what happens when you have 2 lands a year.
Exactly. Exactly. Hey, thanks for coming on. I've been wanting to have you on for a while. I was just waiting for the right opportunity, and this seemed like a really good one. So maybe we'll do it again at some point, and we'll just make it the episode. So
I would I would love to do more if you ever find a good opportunity for it. I never pictured being a guest on here, but I've always thought it's awesome that there is something like this for the Splatoon community. So I'm glad that you're running that ship, and that someone is running the ship. I'm glad that it's you. You seem like a really good fit for it. I think you have a good like temperament and head. Maybe minus the production thing can work on that a little bit.
I hear a lot about my good head in this community. That's for sure. Thanks.
At the same time, okay, well that's another factor. I thought it was really funny that someone, I don't know if you know who Aaron is from Riptide. Probably do.
I saw his tweet. Yeah.
Yeah, I can't believe people were like, "Is that Pop?"
Okay,
God. So just because they have facial hair and they're white and bald, that's the only similarity.
There's do you know who Sindao is? The main person does Sindao.inc. Top level.
I don't know the person, but I know their product.
Yeah, when you think of bald white Splatoon people, it's usually me and him. And it's an unfair. It's unfair that he gets compared with me. And it's even worse that the head of the entire event is being compared to me, just because of our hair impaired situation that we got going on.
Hair impaired.
Hold on. Let's get out of here before this gets worse. Thank you again.
Thank you so much. Take care.
And that was Doughboy. Wow, that was good. That was really good. I enjoyed that a lot. A 2-hour episode. I need to wrap this up. I need to go downstairs. But yeah, thanks again, Doughboy. That was fantastic. There'll be an episode on Friday previewing Super Jump. We'll probably talk about Flutie there as well. If you'd like to be a part of the podcast anyway, feel free to reach out to my socials, YouTube 25 Popgun, Twitter at Mr_Popgun, Twitch Popgun 25, Discord at just straight up Popgun. Make sure you guys wear a mask, get vaccinated, enjoy the rest of your week, sign up for Super Jump, and hey, if you missed the VOD, there's plenty of stuff to watch back on YouTube of this later. Wow, that was great. That was fun.